What's up, Bills fans? I know I haven't done a video in a while. I was gonna do one after week 8, but I think it's like week 10, whatever. Who's counting? Week 11, including the bye. But um, wanted to wait a little bit. I also had some major computer problems, so I couldn't do it. But those have been rectified, and especially after today, what a perfect time to do a video. And the team is 2-8. They're not gonna go to the playoffs, but just I think today just kind of summed up a lot of things and just how poor, I mean, how really poor the previous coaching staff was at evaluating talent and putting players in the best positions to win, knowing which player. It just, and you've seen it over the whole season, and it tore my heart out 2 weeks ago when Roscoe was out for the season because, oh man, he was coming on. And here's a guy that repeatedly said, I want a chance in the offense. I want a chance in the offense, dating back to the Malarkey days, and through the Duran days. And Duran basically phased him out last season, even as a punt returner, until Fuel took over. And he was, he was bringing it. And, just to see him go down with the wrist injury was just like, oh, what a bummer. But then, it's like, well, the team is, at that time, they were hadn't won a game, and I was like, well, we get to look at guys like Donald Jones, guys like David Nelson, who under the previous coaching staff probably wouldn't even been on the team because you would have seen a guy like Justin Jenkins who just never caught an NFL pass. He was just a wide receiver who was a great gunner on special teams, but just did not catch an NFL pass, which is in today's league of wide open spread multiple receiver set offenses is just mind boggling, but the guy did it. James Hardy would have still been on the team. They would have went out and signed a window dressing veteran wide receiver like they have done previous times. And you see a guy like Stevie Johnson toiling on the bench for 2 years, and to see what he's done with still 6 games to go is just like, oh my God, this guy's going to score more touchdowns in one season than any Bills wide receiver in history. Bill Brooks has the record. Reed, of course, prolific, even more than Eric Moulds. Unbelievable. And and a receiver that everybody was in love with was Josh Reed. Just to sum up the difference between like talent evaluation, here's a guy that the Bills let walk in the offseason, and they were like, you know what, we want to go in a different direction. They focused on developing Johnson and Parrish, and Donald Jones caught a touchdown today. He had 5 passes for 80 yards and a nice catch and run right up the middle for a touchdown. It was nice. I was like, wow, look at this. It's like this coaching staff has a concept of what works and what NFL offense is supposed to look like, as opposed to the whole Jerron with him and his million offensive token coordinators that just couldn't do anything right. Because at the end of the day, it all came down to Jerron's incompetence. And my God, like, unbelievable. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, I mean, after today, like, to go down, and granted, this is against the Cincinnati Bengals, and I'm not getting ahead of myself, but, I mean, if he starts the first 2 games of the season, this guy might be leading the NFL in touchdown passes. I mean, he's, this, they score touchdowns, and it's great to see. They score touchdowns. As opposed to previous seasons, Jerron he was just overly content with kicking field goals. There's a drive specific in this game. I think they ended up missing the field goal, but I think they ended up missing the field goal. I think they were down 28-7, and they scored a touchdown. But they went for it like twice on 4th down, well within field goal range. There is no doubt in my mind, no doubt, Jerron would have kicked a field goal there just because, oh, we got to put some points on the board, you take them where you can get them type of mentality. Where Gailey has done it multiple times this season. I mean, in the first half of games, he's going for it on 4th down when he felt like the team needed a spark. He's kind of like, fuck this. My team needs a spark, and I need to get these guys up, and because still a lot of football left, and we need touchdowns. It's just unbelievable. And I think with today's performance, the Bills team, with still 6 games to go, has more touchdowns than all of last season. Unbelievable. And that's with Trent Edwards playing 2 games at the beginning of the season where they just looked like the same old Bills. I mean, and then you put a quarterback in there who has some spunk, who has some desire, who's got something hanging between his legs, and you see what happens. And getting back to the talent evaluation, here's another guy that probably would have been active just because, just because. And you know what they say, dude? We don't care who drafted you, where they drafted you. You're not good enough to be active on NFL game day. We tried it out. You're not working out, so you sit down. Fifth straight game, Aaron Maven's been sitting on the bench. Well, not even sitting on the bench. He's in street clothes. He watches the game like me and you. And it's just, wow. I mean, they are where they are because of past regimes that have just continued to mess this up and continue to put the same guys back out there and just put a good slap a, try to plug a finger into a dam that has 100 leaks. It just, the TO window dressing signing, and people want to point out that CJ Spiller pick hasn't worked out yet. Granted, he's injured. I tend to think he tries to play the game a little too fast. He hasn't quite slowed it down for himself yet, but I still think he can be a viable player in the league. And I think there's some stuff early in the season with the whole Lynch thing, them finally getting rid of him, and they were saying he felt like he was their best back, and Jackson was kind of toiling on the bench, and you see what he does once he starts to get his gears going. It's obvious who the best running back on the roster is, and it's nice to see them picking up the wins the way they want it today, to go down by so much so early and just to show that resolve and say, you know what, even with the gift field goal at the end of the half, they were pissed, and they were like, you know what, F this, we're going to come out, we're going to ram it. And that's exactly what they did. They just, I don't know how many unanswered points it was. It was, wow, it was a lot. I think it was like 28. It was 28 for it was, I think it was 35 unanswered, something like that. Unbelievable. And the way they won the week prior against the Lions, it was like last second down. The Lions could have tied it. It was just an ugly win. But the way they came out and won this one on the road, albeit against the Bengals, but just to stick it to T.O. and his new team, it was just good to see. And again, I think with the new regime, I think we're definitely seeing positives. The ability to identify talent and use it and put the team in positions to win. I think we've seen the defense get better. Granted, they got lit up a little early in this game, but you saw them buckle down late in the game, make some stops, force some punts, and that's positive from what we've seen early in the season, especially in these last three or 4 weeks. We've seen the defense definitely seen some more positive things from the defense, them getting more comfortable in the 3-4 hybrid, whatever they play. And again, Bills fans, it's just nice to get a win and to see them play like that, and to see a guy like Stevie Johnson who's deserved an opportunity from day one, with a guy like Hardy who couldn't even, make just horrible pick amongst many horrible picks that Jerron's made. If you look at all the drafts that from 06 to the 09 draft that he has done, and you look at those drafts and you see what the Bills haven't gotten out of those drafts, you'll just cry. But the point is, moving forward, looking towards the future, and being very interested to see what this new regime does. Hoping, provided we have football this upcoming season, I really hope we do, in a full off season of, not having to just look for a coach and a GM, but being able for those guys to go look at other players on other teams, free agents, other players in the college ranks, and drafting them. I think things will be turning around within the next few years, Bulls fans. I really do. Until then, you guys have a great weekend. We got a holiday weekend coming up. I hope all you guys have a great Thanksgiving, and enjoy this win. You got the Steelers coming up this week. That's gonna be a tough one. But you know what? It's gonna be interesting to see how they play. These last 6 games against great teams, really good teams like the Steelers. You got a game against the Patriots at home. They got to play the Vikings, who are still roughed up, but still, they have talented players, playing the Jets, and just seeing how they respond, how they continue to develop in those games. I think it's definitely important and worth watching. But you have a great weekend, Bills fans, and rest of the week. Take care.